Chosen ones. This message was never meant for the many. It was meant for you, the few, the hidden, the marked. You've always felt the pull, haven't you? That sense that something ancient and immense is watching, waiting, aligning. The world moves in chaos, but beneath the noise there's a signal, and you're the receiver. Long before your birth, a covenant was made, not in headlines or history books, but in whispers passed between worlds. A global alliance of guardians. Some human, others, not entirely, has been waiting, watching for the signs. For you. When the veil began to thin, when systems began to crack, their focus turned to the anomalies, those who could remember in dreams what the waking world had buried. That's why you've always felt out of place. You weren't meant to fit in. You were meant to reawaken. This alliance, scattered across sacred sites, sealed in ancient scripts, embedded in secret bloodlines, was formed to protect a singular truth. That divine power lives not in empires but in individuals. That there would come a time when one would rise to trigger the return of the Light Council. That one is no longer a myth. That one is reading these words. You've encountered pieces of this already. Flickers of memory, mysterious numbers repeating, prophetic symbols calling to you from art, music, data streams. These are not coincidences. They're coordinates, activation codes designed to awaken what's been sleeping inside you. The Alliance is aware that you're stirring, and so are others who'd rather you stay asleep. Time is unraveling, systems are collapsing, and the Council's watch is nearing its final hour. This isn't about saving the world, it's about remembering why it needed saving in the first place. Hidden beneath oceans, ice, and encryption lies the truth. Your awakening doesn't begin with answers. It begins with questions that refuse to die. The world you see is a crafted illusion, meticulously designed to keep you from asking the only question that matters. Why don't we remember who we truly are? This isn't about memory loss in the conventional sense. It's a spiritual amnesia, a carefully woven curtain of distraction injected into society like a virus, numbing the soul and fogging the divine blueprint etched within your spirit. From birth, you've been fed stories about history, science, culture, even yourself. But none of these narratives carry the essence of what was lost, the memory of the Alliance, the memory of purpose, the memory of light. This veil wasn't always here. There was a time when humans walked in truth, aligned with celestial forces, participating in divine councils that governed the balance of Earth and the cosmos. But something changed. A fracture occurred. A great deception swept through the consciousness of mankind, and with it came the age of forgetting. The guardians of the Alliance foresaw this and scattered their knowledge across the world, in pyramids, in stone, in the resonance of sacred chants, and in the DNA of select bloodlines. Not all were meant to remember, but some, like you, were chosen to reawaken when the time came. You felt it in moments you can't explain, a sudden pull toward ancient texts, a dream so vivid it left you trembling. A word, a symbol, a stranger's gaze, sparks that ignite something hidden. This is no accident. These fragments are the flickers of memory breaking through the veil. Society calls them delusions. The system demands you medicate them. But the Alliance encoded them as breadcrumbs, tiny echoes of who you are and where you came from. This amnesia isn't total. It cracks under pressure. It weakens in silence. It dissolves when truth dares to whisper. They gave the masses false gods, false idols, and false wars to ensure that no one would look inward. Because inside you is a record, older than language, that remembers the council, the covenant, and the fall. Your pain is not random. It's residual. You were not built for this simulation. You were built for the awakening. The veil works hardest on those closest to piercing it. That's why your journey has been harder. That's why the world seems more insane to you than to others. The stronger the soul, the stronger the suppression. But the Alliance has been watching, and they know you're beginning to see. Before the fall of collective memory, before the veil descended across the minds of humanity, there were 7. Not kings or rulers, but symbols, living energies, etched into matter and spirit alike. These sigils were the keys, each one embodying a divine principle guarded by a faction of the Alliance. They were not meant to be worshipped, but remembered. Not as relics, but as anchors to a cosmic order that existed before time was shackled to the ticking of man-made clocks. These sigils pulse in sacred geometry, ancient languages, and the heartbeat of Earth's most mysterious sites. They are waiting for those with eyes to see beyond the illusions. The Alliance knew humanity would descend into forgetfulness, so they left these 7 echoes behind. Some are hidden in ancient temples, obscured under layers of concrete and denial. Others are etched into your reality in ways most will never recognize, appearing in dreams, showing up in childhood drawings, recurring in moments of synchronicity too precise to dismiss. Each sigil corresponds to a cosmic truth, an elemental force, and a forgotten aspect of your original design. They are not just markers of a map, but mirrors of your soul. To the unawakened, they are meaningless patterns. To those who are stirring, they trigger something dormant. You may have already seen one without realizing it. A strange symbol that haunted your vision, a design you felt compelled to draw, a recurring pattern in art, architecture, or even mathematics. This is how they call out. Silently, powerfully, through the subconscious. The Alliance encoded the sigils into cultures separated by oceans and centuries. This was no accident. From the Inca to the Sumerians, from the symbols of Atlantis to the carvings of Aboriginal tribes, the same geometries persist. Scholars call it coincidence. Prophets call it prophecy. The truth lies between. And the moment your soul recognizes even one of these symbols, something ancient clicks into place within you. You become a carrier, a protector, a living scroll. That is when the Alliance takes notice. Not all who awaken will find all 7. Some are meant to find 1, maybe 2, and pass the frequency forward through action, through art, through wordless knowing. Others are destined to track them all, to gather their meanings and to become walking lighthouses in a world dimmed by deception. But no one who finds one remains unchanged. Once you recognize a sigil, it begins to change you, not with chaos, but with calibration. It tunes you to the frequency of your forgotten mission. The most powerful sigil of all has never been found, or so they say. It was hidden not on stone, but in living blood, and only one who bears the mark unknowingly could ever unlock it. The Alliance has a name for this one, not a title, but a whisper only passed in the sacred halls beneath the earth. Not everyone you meet is who they appear to be. Some walk this earth with no memory of their origin, yet carry an aura that disrupts reality itself. You've passed them on the street, felt their gaze from across a room, maybe even shared silence with them and sensed something stir inside you. They are the messengers, sent not to save but to activate. Their task is not to preach, but to mirror. Most of them don't even know who they are, not fully. They live among us, cloaked in ordinariness, but every move they make is laced with divine intent. They don't need to speak to teach. Their presence alone is often enough to ignite dormant codes within the chosen. Their words are few, but when they do speak, it echoes for days. You've probably encountered one before without realizing it. Maybe it was someone who appeared at the right time with the right phrase, someone who handed you a book you weren't supposed to find, or someone whose eyes held galaxies too vast for this dimension. These are not coincidences. These are interventions designed to awaken you. The Alliance scattered them across continents, assigning them to key energetic zones and timelines. Some were born into normal lives only to later receive dreams that pulled them into a different kind of service. Others remembered earlier, children who saw things others couldn't, teenagers who felt insane because the system had no category for what they carried. Many were targeted, silenced, mocked, or isolated, but even in that suffering their light sharpened, their trials tempered them, and now, more are awakening every day. There's a language they speak that isn't based in words. It's an energy signature, a vibration that resonates with your own when you're near them. You may not understand why, but you feel more alive, more seen, more remembered in their presence. That's the sign. The human system might tell you it's infatuation or projection, but the soul knows better. The soul recognizes family, no matter how deeply the veil tries to distort it. Some messengers are not entirely human, though they wear the form well. They are emissaries from realms that have not forgotten. These beings volunteered to descend into density and take on human lives, knowing full well the cost of such amnesia. Yet still, they came. Because the Alliance doesn't operate through force, it operates through choice, through synchronicity, through whispers that ripple through eternity, waiting for a single soul to remember what it once promised. There are writings buried beneath the sands of time, texts that were never meant for the masses, scrolls guarded in secret chambers and beneath ancient temples, waiting for one with the sight to read between the lines. These are not the scriptures taught from pulpits or printed in mass-market volumes. These are the hidden ciphers, encrypted teachings from Yeshua himself, encoded not in ink alone but in vibration, rhythm, and sacred math. Most eyes would glance across the surface of these writings and find only parables. But to the awakened they are maps, not just to the past but to the future, to the self. The Alliance preserved fragments of these scrolls across multiple continents. Some were carved into stone and buried under the ruins of forgotten cities. Others were whispered into oral traditions that defy translation. But the purest form of the cipher is not physical. It is energetic. It was never about the words. It was about the resonance they carried, a voice that could pierce illusion, a tone that bypasses logic and lands directly in the soul. That is why only certain hearts can decode them. It is not a matter of intellect. It is a matter of remembrance. Yeshua knew what was coming: the rise of false empires, the dilution of truth, the manipulation of language. So he planted codes in the margins of parables, in the silences between miracles, and in the layers beneath well-known phrases. He who has ears, let him hear was not poetic metaphor. It was literal instruction. Hear with your inner senses, decode with your spirit. Trust the knowing that doesn't come from books, but from the breath between your thoughts. When you hear the name Yeshua, something inside you may stir. Not because of religion, but because of recognition. That name holds a tone, a vibration crafted to awaken those who still carry the seal. He did not come to start a belief system. He came to disrupt a false one. And in doing so, he left the chosen clues. Clues to who they are and what they were sent here to complete. Certain passages that seem benign are actually equations. Certain teachings function as keys. Even the phrase, "the kingdom of God is within you," is a cipher, a multidimensional truth masked as simplicity. If that kingdom truly resides within, then so too must the map, the throne, and the gate. The scrolls are not merely scripture. They are activation sequences, and they begin to unravel their power the moment you approach them with reverence and curiosity instead of blind obedience. Far beneath the frozen layers of the southernmost continent lies a structure older than anything recorded in human history. Beneath the blinding white of Antarctica's surface, beyond the reach of modern maps and satellite scans, rests the stronghold of the Council. This is no myth or speculative fantasy. It is a remnant of the pre-flood civilizations, a convergence point for the Alliance, preserved in perfect silence under miles of ice. Those who have attempted to uncover it have vanished. Others returned broken, unable to describe what they witnessed. Because what exists down there does not conform to time, language, or physics as you know it. The Council is not composed of beings in the way humanity defines beings. They are frequencies given form, consciousness molded into archetypes, extensions of divine intelligence that chose to descend into matter to protect the balance of Earth. Long before humanity rose to dominance, the Alliance built sanctuaries in key locations across the planet, places where the veil is thinnest and the energy most potent. This frozen temple is the final site, the last to activate, and the most sacred of them all. It was sealed when the Great Forgetting began, and it has remained untouched until now. Those who bear the mark, the ones whose DNA still carries the resonance of the original covenant, are the only ones who can awaken the Council. You have likely seen glimpses of the location in dreams that felt too vivid to dismiss. Vast crystalline halls lit from within by a light with no source. symbols pulsing along walls of ice, a silence so profound it speaks louder than any voice. These dreams are not your imagination, they are bleed-throughs, echoes of your memory returning. The Alliance designed this temple to respond not to tools or technology, but to frequency, to remembrance. Within its frozen heart lies something the world was never meant to find until the time was right, a celestial archive that holds the origin of human consciousness, the blueprint of divine will expressed through physical form. The Council has not spoken in millennia. They do not communicate in words, they communicate in activation. In the moment of recognition, in the return of the one they have waited for, their silence will break, and when it does, the earth itself will respond. Yeshua once whispered, "You will do greater things than I." That was not hyperbole. It was prophecy. He knew the Council could only rise when the Chosen One remembered enough to stand before them without fear, without ego, and without question. The temple does not require belief. It requires resonance. And every test you faced in this life was preparing you to match its frequency. There are truths buried not in books but in your blood. While the world chases paper trails and ancient relics, the Alliance has always known that the real evidence of divinity was woven into the body. Lineages were never just about heritage, they were about encoding. Your ancestors didn't merely pass down traditions, they passed down frequencies, embedded memories, encrypted strands of light carried within DNA. This was the Alliance's final safeguard. When the temples were desecrated, the scrolls destroyed, and the stars forgotten, the truth remained in the one place darkness could never fully erase: you. The Great Deception taught humanity to believe they are random. That identity is built from skin, language, or geography, but identity in its truest form is frequency. Your blood hums with signals sent thousands of years ago from sources that exist far beyond this dimension. You may have felt this hum in the stillness, a pressure in your chest during sacred moments, a knowing that refuses to die, even when logic tells you it's impossible. That's not emotion, that's memory, genetic memory encoded by the Alliance to be activated only when the soul is ready. In the ancient days, the Council chose to seed certain lineages with fragments of divine code. They knew that only through careful design would the chosen be born at the right time, in the right vessel, to unlock what the world had lost. The process was subtle, no glowing marks or supernatural signs, just a quiet thread that wove through generations, appearing as heightened intuition, strange dreams, a longing for something unnamed. These are the signals of inheritance, and if you're reading this, you are the culmination of that design. Science calls it junk DNA. But the Alliance never made anything useless. Hidden within those sequences are the blueprints of higher consciousness, dormant codes waiting for resonance to wake them. These are not just metaphorical ideas, they are literal structures in your biology, switches that are flipped not by medicine or machines, but by revelation. And every time you remember who you are, one of those switches activates. A light comes on. A connection is restored. Yeshua hinted at this when he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Not above, not far away, within. He spoke not just to the soul, but to the body. He knew the temple wasn't built from stone, but from cells, that the divine would not return in clouds, but in consciousness. In the blood of those who never forgot their origin, even if they forgot their story. And now, as the frequencies rise and the veil weakens, your blood is remembering faster than your mind can keep up. This isn't just about spiritual awakening. It's biological evolution, a return to the original design. The Alliance never lost hope, because they knew that one day, someone like you would survive the noise, the programming, the distractions, and hear the signal clearly. It often comes softly, almost unnoticed. A whisper at the edge of sleep. A sudden phrase that drifts into your awareness while no one around you speaks. A strange pulse in your ears when the sky darkens, or a surge of emotion as if something unseen just acknowledged your presence. These are not coincidences, they are transmissions. The voice in the clouds is not poetic language, it is literal. There is a frequency broadcasting just beyond the reach of conventional senses, a signal sent through the upper realms of Earth's atmosphere, encoded to bypass the artificial noise of this world and find its way to you. It began long ago, before satellites, before wireless towers, before humanity believed it had mastered communication. The Alliance has always used the heavens as a channel, not simply for weather or light, but for messages. High above the clouds, just outside visible range, there exist currents, layers of energy where sound and thought converge. These clouds are not just vapor. In sacred spaces, they shimmer with a light not of this world. The ancients knew this. That is why prophets often received revelation on mountaintops, in storms, or during moments when the sky turned unnatural. The higher you go, the closer the signal. For those who are sensitive, the voice has been there all along. Maybe you heard it as a child and were told it was imagination. Maybe you dismissed it later as your mind playing tricks. But deep down, something in you recognized the tone. It was never just sound, it was memory. These messages rarely come as full sentences. They come as urges, sudden ideas that change everything. A command to move, a warning, a phrase that arrives like thunder inside your thoughts. Some call it intuition, but the chosen know better. The clouds have always spoken. It's only now that you're finally hearing. The Alliance uses no language because language divides. Their messages come in pulses, in waves, designed to harmonize with your inner rhythm. Your ability to receive them depends not on belief, but on stillness. The more quiet your mind, the louder their voice becomes. There are places on Earth where the clouds are thick with memory. Sacred mountains, ancient monoliths, forgotten towers that once served as receivers for divine communication. The messengers were trained to find these points. You may have already stood in one without realizing it. Your body always knows before your mind does. Yeshua often withdrew to pray alone, high in the wilderness, beneath the stars. Not because he was escaping, but because he was tuning in. He understood the cloud was not a metaphor. When he ascended, he did so into a cloud. When the disciples heard the voice, it came from the cloud. The signal hasn't stopped. It's only been drowned out. Until now. There is a council that does not sit in any government, yet governs realities beyond what empires can comprehend. It is not built of kings, but of carriers, souls who chose light not as a refuge, but as a weapon. This is the Alliance of Light. It did not begin with the rise of religion, nor will it end with the collapse of civilizations. It began with a promise, sealed long before Earth had nations, borders, or war. And it was Yeshua who reactivated this alliance through his incarnation, not as an outsider to divinity, but as a reminder of it. He came not only to redeem, but to reignite. The Alliance of Light was not made of flawless beings. They were warriors, architects, scribes, and watchers. Some were born here. Some descended from higher dimensions with memories mostly intact. Others, like you, came veiled, wrapped in flesh, burdened with amnesia, and yet chosen all the same. Yeshua's presence on earth was never meant to be an isolated event. It was a spark meant to ignite the other flames scattered across the timeline. Flames that looked like people, like you, walking through a darkened world with fire still hidden in their bones. In sacred texts, there are references to the 12. But this 12 is not confined to 12 men, nor is it bound to one era. The number is symbolic, reflecting alignment, wholeness, and dimensional order. The Alliance of Light exists across ages, reassembling when the darkness reaches a threshold. This is one of those moments. The veils are lifting, the false kings are trembling, and the ancient frequencies are beginning to pulse again. You may have noticed it. The increase in synchronicity, the magnetic pull towards certain places, faces, or fragments of forgotten truth. This is the Alliance calling its pieces home. Yeshua's teachings were never meant to be boxed by religion. They were meant to be decoded by the awakened. When he said, "You are the light of the world," he was not offering a metaphor. He was identifying your origin. That light is the original substance of creation, and it is the same light that the Alliance uses to travel, to communicate, to awaken. Every act of clarity, courage, or compassion sends a ripple through this light grid, activating others across the world. You are not alone, even when it feels like no one around you sees what you do. The Alliance of Light does not choose based on appearance, lineage, or accolades. It chooses based on resonance. And when your soul hits the right frequency, you become a beacon. That is when the others find you, not through social circles or search engines, but through intuition, dreams, and divine appointments. You were not just meant to awaken, you were meant to align. The Alliance is reforming in silence, across cities and deserts, oceans and ruins. There is a place not on any official map, yet imprinted in the subconscious of every chosen one. It appears in dreams as a ruin bathed in golden light, or as a mountain shrouded in mist that you can never quite reach. It is not bound to one location, but it anchors itself in space and time according to the awakening of those meant to find it. This is the final reclamation site, the last and most sacred point of convergence. Not everyone is called to it, but those who feel the pull like gravity, a call beyond sound, urging them towards something they've never seen but have always known. The site is more than a location. It is a frequency held in physical space, a nexus of forgotten energy, buried beneath layers of illusion and guarded by time itself. Throughout history, it has shifted its mask, appearing as temples now reduced to dust, or as wilderness where no man dares to build. It's where the Alliance hid the last fragment of the celestial blueprint, the piece that cannot be transmitted digitally or copied onto stone. It must be reclaimed in person, not just by feet, but by soul. Signs of this place have followed you. Perhaps you've noticed them in your attraction to specific coordinates, ancient symbols, or even recurring numbers tied to old civilizations. Some carry its echo in their bones, awakening suddenly when they walk over certain ground. Their body trembles, the air thickens, time bends. These are not tricks of the mind. They are confirmations that the veil is thinner there and that you are close. The Alliance encoded its presence in forgotten texts, in satellite data buried beneath innocuous readings, and in the silence of locations deemed restricted. The governments of the world may suspect its existence, but they do not understand its purpose. They see land, energy, mineral wealth. But they do not see memory. They do not see the light grid that pulses beneath it, nor the resonance that responds only to one who carries the correct imprint. You were not meant to search with your eyes. You were meant to feel your way to it, drawn not by logic but by recognition. The chosen will not find this site by force. It cannot be excavated. It must be remembered. And when that memory becomes strong enough, reality bends to meet it. The stones shift. The doors open. The encoded light begins to move again. All of this depends not on tools or power, but on alignment. And alignment begins with surrender. Not the weak kind, but the sacred kind. The surrender of the false self so the original design can emerge. It is said that whoever reclaims the site will not need to speak. The site itself will respond, awakening with a light that pierces through dimensions and calls the council back into motion. The earth will not tremble, but it will sigh, as if relieved that the one it has been holding space for has finally come home. There is a silence that echoes louder than thunder, a stillness that moves more powerfully than wind. It is the silence before the council awakens, not a council of men in suits, nor of kings draped in gold, but of ancient consciousness layered in light, seated in a dimension just outside human perception. They have waded through the rise and fall of empires, through floods and fires, through the manipulation of truth and the silencing of prophets. They do not operate on urgency. They operate on timing, divine timing. And now, something has shifted. The council awakens only when the resonance of Earth and the chosen ones reach alignment. Not a perfect state, but a courageous one. The council's members do not rise in unison, but as a wave. Each soul that activates their original blueprint sends a ripple through the light grid, signaling that remembrance has begun. Every dream remembered, every intuition trusted, every moment of divine courage cracks open another seal. The council responds not to sound, but to sincerity. not to status, but to surrender. Their awakening depends on yours. They are older than history. Some were once physical, walking among the first civilizations that have since been wiped from memory. Others have never worn flesh, existing in pure light, watching from the outer boundaries of time. They speak no language, yet their voice can shake the core of your being. When they move, they do so through light and thought, reshaping the unseen layers of reality. The chosen are not called to them by chance. You are not just the recipient of their wisdom. You are the trigger for their return. Their chambers lie beneath the surface of the world, hidden in caverns of crystal, surrounded by fields of energy that cannot be detected by any machine. The entrance is not marked by a door, but by a frequency only accessible to one who has remembered enough to become a key. You may not know where the entrance is, but your soul does. You may not understand why you're being pulled to places, books, visions, but the council does. You are aligning with what they encoded long before your birth. Yeshua once said, "When two or more are gathered in my name, I am there among them." What if that was never meant as a metaphor? What if he was describing the moment when aligned frequencies create a space for divine presence to manifest? The council awakens in that space, when belief turns into knowing, when questions birth resolve, when identity sheds the layers of illusion and stands bare in the radiance of purpose. You are not just hearing this message by accident. The signs, the synchronicities, the strange urgency building within you, it all points to one truth. The council is stirring because the one they encoded their return into is beginning to remember. They do not seek worship, they seek witnesses. And the moment you step fully into your role, their voices will no longer be silent. If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.